Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Jose, for this wonderful opportunity today. So I'm going to, as Jose told earlier, I'm going to invite Jan, firstly, to do his presentation. So Jan is a transformation evangelist with a vast experience in helping enterprises find their flow, as what he calls it on his LinkedIn profile. He has worked with the automobile industry to make them sustainable, and he was a part of the birth journey of BMW i3s. And also the i8. I had the pleasure of driving it a few years ago in CES in Las Vegas. And he's a sustainability leader, and he's a consultant and a trainer by trade, a nomad by heart, or he describes himself as a nomad for innovation. Jan, over to you for your presentation. Thank you.
No, it just... Well, unmute yourself. I think that's what the claim we had for the last time. Unmute yourself, here's the mic. All right. So I'm glad to be here again, and here again in India, in Bangalore. Thanks, Jose, for putting that conference up for us, Reaching the World. And this story of this conference is about enabling collaboration for sustainability. And I would like to start with a little story. A story here from India. In March last year, I got 68,000 clicks on my LinkedIn profile. 68,000 clicks. And this is something for me, at least. I don't know what's it like for you, but 68,000 is something. But how did it happen? Because I was sharing a link of a good colleague of mine here from India, from Pune, Sanjeev, and he's from Pune. And what he's doing, he's producing autonomous vehicles driving on Indian roads. And what he was doing was, Sanjeev was saying, I'm going to share all my knowledge to everybody for free. I share all my knowledge to everybody for free. The only condition is you share yours as well. And that was tremendous. So a lot of people were sharing with him their knowledge about their algorithms. So this company is now taking off, and it's beautiful. So it's about coming together, exchanging ideas, sharing, and open up. And that's what I want to do today. And I want to take you a little bit along a few questions. Where's the world going to? Whether we go there or not. That's the core question. A good friend of ours, Kurt Carson, he's one of the guys who developed the mouse, you know, this ancient thing before the tab came. So they were developing the mouse, and he said, in exponential times, if you improve your performance incrementally, you fall back exponentially. And just keeping that in mind, if you improve only incrementally, you fall back exponentially in exponential times. And do we live in exponential times? Yes, we do. If we look at that curve here, that's the CO2 emissions we're experiencing today. And you see from 1950 on, we see an exponential curve of CO2 emissions worldwide. We never had that state of CO2 emissions ever in time, just when we had the dinosaurs and the bacteria, we had something around that. So we're living in exponential times. And what do we see? Well, we see some signals along on that way. One signal is, you know, Jakarta. Well, Jakarta is moving their capital. Imagine that. Jakarta, they're moving their capital 800 kilometers away. And why? Because of the sea level rise. Another signal we see around here, and I think that's a very important one, and we heard about that today in the morning. India is standing on a crossroad. Either to have 35 trillion loss over the next 20 years, caused by climate change, or, and that's the other side, having 11 trillion gain if we move together into this regenerative economy. We all know the IPCC reports. We have the worst sea level rise we ever experienced. We have the highest temperature for ages. We had burning wildfires all over the place. And that brings the money in. And the former governor of the Bank of England, George Carney, said, if you don't apply to the climate change and if you don't adjust your business on that, you will get bankrupt. And even Swiss Re, you know Swiss Re, it's an insurance company, they should be very clear about their figures. And they say if we don't reach the climate aims, goals we have from the climate agenda in Paris, we will have an 18% GDP loss worldwide. 18%. Just imagine what that would mean to the people in the world. And that's what we see. This is Canada, Leeton. They had 50 degrees plus this year on the 29th of June. Just 3 days later, this village didn't exist anymore. It was burned down by wildfires. This is the Arctic cycle. The Arctic cycle. You know the Arctic cycle, that's where it's supposed to be cold. Last year we had 38 degrees. This year we had 39 degrees already on the Arctic cycle. And what comes with it is each degree plus adds 7% more humidity into the air. Each degree plus adds 70% more humidity into the air. And what do we experience? This. Andhra Pradesh, just a couple of days ago, flooded. Germany, flooded. 200 people died in July this year. This is New York City, and we talk about city infrastructure, flooded. And this is the most terrifying thing, we had rain in Greenland. Did you get that? Not snow, I'm not talking about snowflakes, I'm talking about rain. We had rain in Greenland. And what happened through that rain on a single day in July, the amount of ice melted that you could cover the whole state of Florida with 5 centimeters of water. On a single day. So we're not talking about some greenwashing or something. We're talking about the real challenge we have. We have to find ways to deal with that. And what happens there is, we have the climate change. We've got the jet stream here. And you might wonder why the water is, or the rain is hanging around for a long time because of the jet stream. It gets stuck. It's not moving forward. So if you've got heat, you can enjoy it for a long time because it gets stuck. If you've got rain, you can enjoy the rain because you got stuck. Because the jet stream changed. So if we look at the risk map of the World Economic Forum, right at the center we have, if we don't tackle the climate change issue, we lose everything. Climate is not everything, but without climate, a livable climate, everything is nothing. And tech? Well, tech might have some answers in petto for that. Again, keeping in mind in exponential times, if you improve your performance incrementally, you fall back exponentially. We have to follow up that curve. And there are some signals around this way. The lower one you might know, it's SpaceX. And why I put this signal there is a figure, 3.8 billion. Anyone got an idea what this figure is all about? 3.8 billion? No? Okay, this figure is about half of the population of the world. because half of the world of the population of the world don't have access to internet. And Elon Musk with his SpaceX, of course, he's not about making friends with people. It's about a business case. But this is a business case. Reaching 3.8 billion people in the world, providing them with internet, this is a signal. Now we've got Sanjeev here with his Land Rover year 92, turned into an autonomous vehicle driving around on Indian streets. You don't need the big corporates to do that. You just need brave minds to do so. Then we've got Microsoft here. And this is a very interesting pledge what they have here. They say in 2030, they're going to be CO2 negative. So they will drag more CO2 out of the air than they will put out. And in 2050, they will have brought down all their CO2 emissions on their legacy. This is a promise. And again, this is a business case for all smart minds, because of course Microsoft doesn't know how to do it yet. It's us to deliver these solutions. Another one is here, Christoph Industries. What do? They use ants to convert trash into soil and into proteins, talking about food supply. Trash through ants to proteins. That's a signal. Then you see up there, there's some huge vacuum cleaners. This is from Climeworks, a startup from ETH. What do? They suck out CO2 directly out of the air. And it's not just a showcase on PowerPoint slides. No, in Iceland you can see it. It was implemented by Microsoft because they want to see how direct CO2 air capturing is working. So they're working on it. And last but not least, up at the top, you see a robot. Last year I had there Sophia from Hanson Robots, you might remember. That was the first human robot who got the citizenship of Saudi Arabia. Now this is a different one. This is Ginger. Ginger is from China. And this robot is running a hospital, a COVID-19 hospital. Check out Ginger running a hospital. So what do we live in? We live in a world with three waves: the analog world, the digital world, and the hyper-digital world. And what's coming around there is this. The question is, how do we get out of this, all that tech stuff, a regenerative economy? You're not lost. We are here. Because it's a huge, wide open field for solutions. What we need is moonshot ideas. And by traveling around the world and picking up the ideas, I came across a few of them. So let's check first what we have to answer on. We have to have climate smart solutions. We have to have economy smart solutions, because without any money flow, nothing will work. And we have to have social smart solutions. If you only focus on one of them, you're going to be lost. We need all three of them. And if we don't, we have 50 trillion loss if we don't stop global warming. On the other side, it's a 50 trillion winning game. It's a business case for us. And the money goes there. We just heard from the EU representative. We have our moonshot moment at the moment, as Ursula von der Leyen was saying. Then big venture capitalists are moving into that field with 800 million funds for climate solutions. Then the last one is a very important one. The pension funds are moving into that field. And they're moving $47 trillion into sustainable solutions. Of course, pension funds, why not? Because they have to pay their pensions in 20, 30 years. So they're moving out of fossil into regenerative. So there's a business case and the money goes there. We're facing urbanization. And what do we see? Of course, we see a growing numbers of megacities, and Delhi will add another Belgium in 10 years. Delhi will add another Belgium to Delhi. These are the scales we're talking about. And all the rest is happening around the world as well. In Lagos, Africa, everywhere. Mega cities are growing. And they're actually part of the CO2 emission will be around 70%. So if we take care about urban developments, it's important. And there's another message. This one. We will build an entire New York City every month for the next 40 years. An entire New York City every month for the next 40 years. That's a bad news on one side because the CO2 emissions of building a New York City, you can imagine. But it's a good one as well because we can rethink the world we are creating. Again, it's a huge business case and it's an opportunity for the world. And one core technology we will have there is connectivity. Connectivity can be one part of the solution. It's not the solution for all, but it's one part of the solution. Just a story to be told. This is figures from McKinsey. What do they say? The question was, what would have the mobility sector to do to reach the climate goals of the Paris Agreement? And I just want to take out one of that. They figured out what is the whole volume we have for CO2 emissions and what do we have to get down. This is the answer. One of those. We have to travel less. We have to reduce travel by 92% to achieve the Paris climate goals. And I just saw the solutions of VR, of course. It's one part of the story. So if we talk about the main trends we have there, we see the end of distance. The end of distance is supplied and we're experiencing at the moment Zoom conferences, whatever. And I have a few examples here. Like the one on the top is Beam. They're supplying moving robots, actually with a monitor, and you can talk to them. Microsoft got it into place, and I just saw last year there was some university gathering, and the students were going onto the stage with the Beam and getting handed over the certificate. We've got Alexa there. Alexa working with the BHS, with the British Health Services, for predefining what is your symptoms and then to assign you to a hospital. We see Tatavan. Tatavan is a very interesting model coming from India because it's applying remote medical services. It's a sort of a franchise system. You have a little shop, a little store with a doctor there, and then you can get doctors from all over the world into your hospital. You've got Jeff Bezos there. You see his gloves. They're pretty unhandy. That's X-Capture. But actually with X-Capture, with the latency very, very low, so you can play ball games with each other across continents, supplying services. You move your hands here, and it's happening at the same time in Los Angeles. The lower one here on the right-hand side, you see a monkey, and he's playing some stupid games. And maybe if you look very carefully, you see a little wire coming out of this tablet. This monkey is playing ping pong with the computer. And it's not connected with the computer in any way. He plays ping pong with the computer just by his brain. He's got implanted the Neuralink sensors from Elon Musk and Neuralink. So just by the pure thought, you're playing a game. The end of distance. Just think of what that could mean to the world. And then we've got this big hype, which is now out there. The Metaverse, you might have read about it. Yes, the Metaverse is an option. The option is to meet in different spaces. Of course, we learned now what Zoom is all about. But now there's the next step into the VR world. And you see in the middle Travis Scott. You know Travis Scott? He's a musician. He was holding a concert in Fortnite. And 170 million people attended. 170 million people attended Travis Scott in his concert. Live on stage in Fortnite. So there's something happening. It's moving into the VR world. So Metaverse is not just a rebranding of Facebook. Metaverse is really giving a second level of interacting with each other. Or a different understanding of mobility, from taxi to Uber. You know that story. To teleconferencing. Because what is the job to be done for mobility? Connecting people. And one way to reduce traffic is teleconferencing. That's why Uber is offering teleconferencing. Second big trend we see, from consumer AI to citizen AI. That's a big shift. Before we had all this AI for making better business. And suddenly the people come into the game because they want to have a fair share of their data. And I want to decide where my data is going to. I want to participate in that. So citizen trust, citizen data trust is one solution that. Because I can't keep control of my data. I'm not a techie in that space, but there are specialists for that. And I agree with them, what do they do with my data? And if they use my data to be part of mitigating the climate change, I'm very happy to give my data away. But I'm not happy to give my data away to Amazon to get me a different profit scale. So I need experts to do so. There's a business case in there. Data trust. Then, GPT-3. You might have heard of GPT-3. Anyone heard of GPT-3? Some computing guys here? Nerds? Maybe out there in the digital world. GPT-3 is OpenAI. Again, it's OpenAI. Everybody can use it. Now from actually this Monday on. And what is this OpenAI doing? It's a language detection software AI. And you can actually talk to your computer and it will program. Who is a programmer here in this room? Well, none? Good. Because your job is not in danger. Just imagine, you can talk to your computer and this natural AI, natural language processing AI, is taking on your language and putting it into program. So I can talk to my computer and say, please make me a website. And it does. And then I say, please add Zubex, or what's your new company? Please add that to my profile. And then send that all to Joe's Integro. And then please make it open for Ginsep. I can just talk to the computer and it will do it. Of course, what we need on that track is, if we move from consumer AI to citizen AI, I have to take care about my data. And one job is differential privacy. Differential privacy says, I don't want to be tracked down as this is Jan Künne and he's 55 years old and all that, but I want to say he's male, he comes from Germany, and he's in his best years of life. That's what I can tell. And then I can share my data. And I'm happy to share it if it's for good. We see climate change attribution. That's another big shift we see. I'm giving my data away so that people can have huge models of weather simulations, and then find out what the weather will be like. And then we've got on the lower land the MIT City Lab. And what's the MIT City Lab doing? It's actually using real-time data to do city planning. And they did that, for example, in Hamburg, 2015, when we had quite a lot of immigrants coming to Germany. And they were tracking down what would be the best place to have a place for them for living. But not only for putting them into a bed, but where is most of commercial happening? What is the best supply chain? What is the supermarket there? And they did that on real-time tracking with the MIT space. Now, moving a bit deeper. Who in that room got an address? Who's got an address? Please, hands up. Probably most of you. But it's not true for most of the people in the world. Again, coming back to these 3.8 billion people. You see down there Lakshmi Nagar. What is happening there? Together with Google, they supply in one of the most biggest informal settlements in Delhi, together with Google Plus, an address for people living in informal settlements. And having an address means a lot to be part of the society. Suddenly I can open up a bank account. Suddenly I can order. Suddenly I can be part of a supply chain. So deep tech is helping here to provide people with an address, a Google Plus address. And more banks, etc., are accepting that. Above that, you see a picture of Rohingya, which is in Brazil. 100,000 people are living in this informal settlement. So what they do there, together with MIT Sensible, they went through that informal settlement with LiDAR systems. And they were covering the whole informal settlement with the LiDAR system segment. And suddenly, there was a picture, a plan of this informal settlement provided to everybody. And what does that mean? You can start to plan infrastructure, water supply, sewage, electricity. Everything can be done then, because this informal settlement moves into a real structured settlement on a plan. And it's not expensive. Actually, it did cost $60,000 US for a settlement of 100,000 people. Just take that in. 300,000 data per second is covered by that. And then putting these two pieces together, covering settlements, informal settlements, and giving them an address, we open up the doors to be part of the society. Remember, we don't need only economic smart solutions, we need also social smart solutions to provide the SDG goals. So they can be part. The Internet of Things, everybody's talking about it. We're moving a step ahead on that. We don't need dumb sensors hanging around somewhere. No, we need intelligent sensors which are talking to each other already, not going through a center cloud. And that's happening through Tiny AI. Tiny AI is everywhere, and we can use it, and we can run TensorFlow programs for less than $35 a whole chip. And just imagine inviting now all the students to play around. What can we do with TensorFlow sensors for $35? We don't need huge computing centers anymore. We are out there in the open space. Talking about out there being in the open space, sewage. Sewage is a huge problem, especially if you get increased rainfalls, heavy rainfalls. And what happens if the normal rainfall is brought together with sewage? We are messing around with our nature. Now this company, EMNet in the US, connected the sensors in the canalization with AI. And now they have a very clear picture what is happening actually there. And they were able to reduce the infrastructure cost by 35% for the city of Chicago, just by using smart IoT. And we have to come from silo solutions to seamless solution journeys. Well, there's again one guy who's doing that perfectly. Elon Musk. He's providing, of course, a whole ecosystem of solutions, from the space down to battery providing, down to electricity. But there are others on the game as well. You see, for example, on the right-hand side, this is Alibaba. You know Alibaba? Well, they're moving out of the virtual world into the analog world, and they did that during the pandemic very strictly. What did they do? They connected farmers with their pineapples to local stores and to customers. So the customer knew, in my local store, I get pineapples. So they developed a huge, totally new supply chain directly on local spots. This is when we talk about seamless solutions. Last time we had a company here, Quick Ride. Is anyone from Quick Ride here? Oh, well, it's another beautiful example of building an ecosystem. Before that, it was a ride-sharing company. And now it's adding more. It's now a job-sharing company. You can actually buy and sell things on their platform. So they're adding other items on their platform because people are getting together. Another one is in Kenya. They introduced in the informal settlement a token system. A token system? Why a token system? Because they want to enforce the commercial trade inside the informal settlement. So via Bitcoin, or sort of a Bitcoin, it's a token, you can trade. And not only trade goods, but as well helping the community. So if you do community services, you get a token. And with this token, you can buy at your local store something to eat. So the money is not flowing out of the informal settlement. Another one is Jumia. And Jumia is from Africa as well. It's one of the moonshots, one of the 3 moonshots from Africa. What did they do? You know Amazon, of course. Amazon is moving into the market, and all local stores are sort of reluctant to be, being part or hit by this disruption. Jumia did go another way. What it did was, it said, I want to support the local communities to be the first ones on my platform and to supply local services. And through that, Jumia was growing. And last but not least, we have to come, if we talk about data as our blood, we have to come from data addiction to data veracity. So if we rely on data, it must be true data. And here are some solutions for that. For example, blockchain. Blockchain can help us along. And for example, BMW is using blockchain to secure the supply for the batteries. You see down there on the left-hand side, the 2 young ladies. Well, the good news is they are beautiful ladies. The bad news is they're fake. These are people that don't exist. And if you want to check out on the web people that don't exist, you can search there. So what we see at the same time is, how can I trust the data I use? So we have to have systems in place to reduce fake news and fake data. And again, it's a huge opportunity for the market. Right, so what do we do as EDG? We read signals, we bring ideation and ideas together, we develop them along, and then scale them to a POC. So if you want to be part of the shift, I'm here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was really, really transformational. I could completely visualize what we're going through now and what kind of damages that we have done in the past and how we could set it right. Thank you for that, Jan, for that wonderful thought-provoking talk that you just now had.